As the sun began to set on the dense forest, a young man named Jack set out on his hunting trip. It was his first time hunting alone, and he was both excited and nervous. He had always been told stories about the dangerous creatures that roamed the forest, but he felt confident in his ability to protect himself. As he walked deeper into the woods, Jack noticed that the trees seemed to close in around him. The leaves rustled in the wind, and the branches creaked overhead. He felt as though he was being watched, and a chill ran down his spine. Ignoring his unease, Jack continued on his hunt, keeping his rifle at the ready. As the darkness deepened, he spotted a large deer grazing in a clearing. Jack took aim and fired, hitting the animal cleanly in the chest. He approached the deer to claim his prize, but something caught his eye in the tree line. At first, Jack thought it was a trick of the light, but as he looked closer, he saw the silhouette of a tall, thin figure watching him from the trees. It was too far away to see any features, but Jack had a feeling that it was not friendly. He quickly grabbed his deer and began to make his way back to his truck. As he walked, he could feel the presence of the figure still watching him from the tree line. It seemed to follow him, staying just out of sight. Jack tried to ignore it, but the feeling of unease continued to grow within him. He quickened his pace, but the figure matched him step for step, always just beyond the edge of the forest. When Jack finally reached his truck, he quickly threw the deer into the bed and jumped in the driver's seat. He turned the key and tried to start the engine, but it wouldn't turn over. Panic set in as Jack realized he was stranded in the middle of the forest with a mysterious figure watching him from the trees. He tried the engine again, but it still wouldn't start. As he sat there waiting for the engine to turn over, Jack could feel the figure getting closer. He heard the sound of twigs snapping underfoot, but still, he could not see the creature. Suddenly, the engine roared to life, and Jack breathed a sigh of relief. He slammed the truck into gear and floored the accelerator, eager to get out of the forest and away from the figure. Jack couldn't shake off the eerie feeling of being watched as he drove down the dirt road that led to his cabin. His heart was pounding in his chest as he recalled the ominous silhouette he had seen lurking in the trees. Suddenly, his headlights caught something in the distance, a figure darting across the road. Jack slammed on the brakes, bringing the truck to a screeching halt. He got out of the truck, his heart racing as he scanned the trees for any sign of movement. But he saw nothing, only the dark and twisted branches of the trees reaching out like skeletal fingers towards the sky. As he turned to get back into the truck, he saw it. A pair of yellow eyes glowing in the darkness, peering out from between the trees. His heart leapt into his throat as he realized it was the Wendigo, standing there, watching him with a menacing glare. For a moment, the two of them just stood there, staring at each other. Jack knew he had to move, to get out of the woods and away from this creature, but his legs were like lead, rooted to the spot. The creature broke the standoff first, its lanky form darting forward with inhuman speed. Jack sprang into action, leaping back into the truck and slamming the door shut just as the creature reached him. He could hear it snarling and scratching at the metal of the truck, trying to get at him. The sound sent shivers down his spine, and he knew he had to get out of there before the creature found a way in. Jack started the engine and peeled out, leaving it behind. But he knew this wasn't over, not by a long shot. The creature was still out there, stalking him through the woods. For hours, Jack drove through the forest, looking over his shoulder, his nerves frayed, and his senses on high alert. Every time he turned a corner or passed through a clearing, he felt the creature's eyes on him, watching and waiting for its chance to strike. As the sun began to rise, Jack finally saw his cabin in the distance. It was a welcome sight, but he knew that the creature was still out there, waiting for him to let his guard down. He hurried into the unlocked cabin and locked the door behind him, collapsing onto the bed in exhaustion. For hours, he lay there, listening to the sounds of the forest outside, waiting for the creature to make its next move. But it never did. The memory of that chase stayed with him throughout the night, keeping his rifle at the ready, just in case. Jack could still feel the chill of those eyes on him, the fear and terror he had felt. It was a reminder of the dangers that lurked in the dark and twisted corners of the world, waiting to prey on those who were foolish enough to venture too far into the unknown. As the night wore on, Jack's exhaustion finally caught up with him and he drifted off to sleep. But his sleep was fitful, filled with nightmares of the pursuit. Sometime in the middle of the night, he woke up to the sound of something scratching under his bed. He sat up, heart pounding, and reached for his rifle. The scratching continued, growing louder and more insistent, then stopped. Jack slowly crept off the bed, rifle at the ready, and peered under. But it was too dark to see anything. Suddenly, the bed flipped over, breaking the front door with a loud crash. Jack, now terrified, fired his rifle blindly, but it was too late. The creature had already pounced, sinking its teeth into Jack's neck, dragging him screaming out into the night. As the night went still, the forest around seemed to come alive with eerie whispers and rustling branches. It was as if the very trees themselves were warning any would-be adventurers to stay away from their dark and dangerous domain. For in the heart of the woods, where the shadows lingered and the creatures of the night roamed free, there were dangers beyond imagining. And those who dared to venture alone into the unknown, like Jack, would do so at their own peril. For the mysteries of the forest were not meant to be uncovered by mortal men, and those who sought to unravel them risked a fate far worse than death.